Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Wednesday and therefore it's 9 a.m. and it's Norma Talks. One of the thoughts that was running through my head today, first of all, I am at the right time today and didn't forget. Well, it's very difficult to forget when it's the morning, but anyhow, the thought I was having today was a statement that I used to hear a lot of, which said, "Today is the first day for the rest of my life." What does that really mean? Today is the first day of the rest of my life. It has to do with thinking, it has to do with goal setting, it has to do with all sorts of different bits and pieces, actually. And sometimes I have to sit down and remind myself, well, where am I? What am I doing? What are my goals? What's my thinking going? What's happening here? Where are we heading? And I wanted today to talk about our auras, our energy releasing, which is one of the first things I learned in when I began my, you might say, inner personal development. One of the first things I learned was around letting go of things. And I want to talk a bit about this because it is something that very often we forget. Let's just imagine we're out in a crowd. Now, not everybody likes being in a crowd of people. And in fact, I've heard this many, many, many times. Oh, I can't stand crowds. I hate going here. I hate going to the mall. I hate doing this. Lots of dislike anyway. So you may have had this happen to you. I know there's an odd time it happens to me, but usually it doesn't anymore. But it did at one point. You're walking along in a mall, or you're maybe watching a parade, or you're watching something happening and there's lots of people around you. You could be at a sports event and you're feeling really good. Everything seems to be flowing really, really well, all happening, when all of a sudden you don't feel good anymore. Maybe you feel a little angry. Maybe you just all of a sudden feel depressed, or all of a sudden you wonder what you're doing there. Anything. It could be any feeling or whatever. And this happens a lot when we're in crowds. And that has a lot to do with your aura and other people's auras. Some people have incredibly loud, powerful auras. They don't understand energy at all. It's you could say it's like a leaking that happens a lot. And you could be in a mall and someone walks behind you that is upset or just really angry, and all of a sudden you might feel like all of a sudden something happens to you, and what you're not aware of is the person is walked behind you, because we don't look out the back of our heads. But our auric energy is all around us. Now, one of the things is that, there's many things written about the aura, but what I find is that, I'm going to sit down in my chair a little bit here, is that there's a spot up here, which is a chakra point here. And very often that is kind of where your aura starts, and about the same level is below your feet. You can always, they're actually quite easy to feel. The hand, you can put your hand up and then bring your hand down. You can actually feel that spot. And you can do the same thing with your feet. You put one foot up and bring your hand back up, and all of a sudden you'll feel it on your palm if you've got any sensitivity at all. Now, what happens with a lot of people, I find that I work with, is often the auras have got all sorts of stuff in them, number one. And also is that they have no awareness of where their aura is. From my point of view, and again, it's not an accepted form, is that I like to see auras fairly condensed to the person, about 18 inches, 3 feet maximum, no more. Because if you've got it way out, you've got the world walking through it anytime you go out. And very often people who don't like being in crowds, don't like going out, that's exactly what's happened to them. Their auras are way out there, and they just are bombarded with other people's energies. So what do we do about that? Well, one of the things you can do is really become aware where your aura is. And I usually just say, kind of, there's all sorts of little techniques I have about pulling the aura in. But I used to start off with imagining there was a little sort of a crank inside, and I'd pull mine in with this little crank and then push the energy down through the buttons of my feet into the earth until I actually got really clear as to how big it is, where it is, or what's happening. The main thing you want to do is that it's your energy and not other people's. Now, what if you are out and you're in a mall or you're in a crowd somewhere, and all of a sudden you feel a shift? The first thing to ask yourself is this mine or is it somebody else's? So you begin to learn to differentiate what is your energy and what is somebody else's energy. When it's somebody else's energy, then comes the important point of what I call energy releasing. Sometimes just by being aware, oh, this is not mine, and you can breathe it out, yes. But I also, over the years, created, and I actually first learned this, and then I expanded upon it a little bit, of being able to identify the energy and move it out of my system if it's really strong or is really inhibiting me in so many, many ways that go on. So allowing that to sort of move on out. You are energy. We look dense, I know, but the pores in our skin, etc., like there's energy moving through us all the time. Our chakra energy, for instance, is coming in and out, and it's going 360. And that's what I find a lot of people who come and actually find that maybe they've been working with chakras, all what I call the front chakras are working and nothing in their back. It's like they forget that the energy moves all the way through, that you actually are like in a bubble of your own energy. You're bubbling. And so in the bubble of your own energy, what happens is that you're actually becoming more stronger, aware, excuse me, being able to understand more of where you're at. Just a second, the old throat is getting. Now, if you want to learn more about the energy releasing, you can always get hold of me, because I do most of my clients. I give them the exercise of what to do if you're really having difficulty with that, because you want to be able to be your own person. You don't want to be picking up all sorts of things from this one or that one or another one. You want to be able to make sure that your aura is in enough that you're secure, so that you can walk through a crowd. I remember incidences when a group of us would be out, and we would be in a big crowd, and they'd say, we wanted to move closer, maybe closer to wherever we wanted to go, and they would say, put Norma in front because she makes people move away. And that's true. I've done that. I've done that driving too when I'm in a hurry. When I wasn't, I don't do that anymore. But it's like energy is energy, and people respond to energy. As you respond, other people respond. It's not something that I do to hurt anybody or to make, but if I'm somewhere in a hurry and I want to get there, I want my roadway to be clear. It's understanding that you do have a personal power, that you are personally responsible, yes, for your own power and your own essence of you, but at the same time is to understand how it works. Now, I'm just going to deviate a little bit because this thought has come in 3 times in my brain, so I'm going to say it. It's a little bit different from what I'm talking about. Was many years when I would go shopping. And I don't shop as much these days, but anyway, I would be, in there walking all around the stores and doing all the different things. And invariably, this would happen around makeup, parts of a store. You'd walk in towards makeup stuff, and I would go, oh, someone's been in here shoplifting. And what they would find is as they're looking at what they're wanting to take, the thought form develops in the air, and they leave behind a footprint, not necessarily about who they are or what they are. But I remember having someone who had studied with me a long time previously phoned me up and said, Norma, why would all of a sudden I start thinking about, shoplifting? And I said, well, it's obviously you're in a place where there's a lot of shoplifting goes on, and you're picking up the thought form. Now that tells me two things. One is that her aura is a little big. She's maybe upset about something, so the aura expands. But it's like I used to find the thought forms and I'd clear them when I would go into a store and I would see or feel that happening. I would see it or whatever, however that was working. I would know when someone had been plotting on how to do something. And so I would just clear the energy out. I would clear the thought form out and just expel it. It's like wipe it away. And because people do walk into these situations totally unprepared, for all of a sudden they have this feeling that they want to do something or that they want to react to something. And a person who has a strong thought form created can have that effect, and they can be long gone, long gone. When you think sometimes of these civil things that go on and all of a sudden fights break out and everything is, well, they're usually planned to some degree, yes, but somebody's been thinking about this. They may not even be on the scene anymore, but other people walk into that thought form and act out the thought form. So thought forms are really, really important to understand, that we think all the time. And the more energy we have in a thought, the more it goes out. The stronger it becomes and the more it goes out. And so you can walk into these things and then wonder why, A, you feel different, B, you're having thoughts that you don't usually have, and C, but often it's the feeling. You go, all of a sudden you feel depressed or you're sad or you don't know why. And anger is a big one, because there's a lot of anger out there, and people walking, and you can see sometimes in people's faces how they're full up of, brooding about something or other. And very often those are the thought forms that are being thrown off. And so someone comes along very innocently and walks through that, and then they pick it up. And then they wonder why they're not feeling good, because they were fine 5 minutes ago. Why am I feeling all funny? Why am I angry? What am I got to be angry about? I don't know. Because it's like a lint. Your aura can be a lint collector. Now, I have talked before on auras. And one of the ways is that I've always done is cleaning your own aura out is like making your hand like a rake. I find that if you're in a shower is best. Baths, not so good, but still water can clear. But because you want to release it. But showers are good. So you can start off and just rake with your hands like a little rake through anything, moving right down to your feet and letting it go down the water hole. On, gone. Water clearing, very, very cleansing. Water can be very, very cleansing. And so what it does is it gives you a fresh start if you're having a shower in the morning from before, or if you feel yucky when you've been out somewhere, jump into the shower right away. Get that off you. Get all that, because otherwise it will seep through. And if you have anything in your subconscious that relates to what's been going on or happening or taking place, it'll hold on to it. And next thing you know, you're mad over something that's happening when really you would have handled it so much differently. So anger, sadness, other kind of heavy duty kind of emotion is usually what's the one to watch for. But also the fun part is, and it's not really fun, is when you, like for me, I used to go into the stores and I'd go, let me see, what have I got to clean up here? So because these little thought forms hang around, you put them out, other people put them out. And so it is what is going on in the thinking process, what is going on in relation to where it's heading and where it's going. All these things become incredibly important for you to be a healthy being. So let's go back to the statement of today is the first day for the rest of my life. How you think today sets into your vibration. As a psychic reader, when people come, I'm looking ahead at their vibration. Their vibration, and I do a very simple reading, actually, mostly, in that's taking a look at where they're coming from, where they are in the present, because anything you want to change has to be done in the present, and where they're heading in the future. And you can change futures. You can't change your past, but you can change your futures from the present. The present is the key. What are you thinking? Thoughts go out to create the vibration that you're on that aids. Now, I heard somebody go on and say, oh, all these people that say you create your reality. In fact, I was reading, somebody sent me something, and it was like, you've got to really understand the deeper level of metaphysics sometimes to really understand how thoughts work. But it's true because your subconscious is throwing out thoughts. And a lot of those thoughts come from your habits that you've created maybe in other lifetimes. I know because I look at those for people. And it's like, understand that you have command over your own thinking process in the present. Whatever's done is done. But you want the present to reflect. I know some of you have picked up that I haven't been feeling very well lately. But at the same point, I find I've got to watch what's going on in my head because that dictates how I feel about how I'm feeling. And so it's like, instead of feeling sorry for myself and poor me having to go through this right now for no real reason that I can see why I'm going through whatever. But it's like being clear with your own mind, then the emotions settle down. Because when you put thought and you put emotion behind it, that's where you get the driving force that creates. And you want your thoughts to be clear, clean, moving in the direction that you're going in. You want to be able to understand that you are a ball of emotional energies. Yes, I know even our skin, I know it looks solid, but it isn't. It's breathing. It's got pores on it. In fact, I'm really happy. My skin's beginning to tan up a little bit, even though I don't sit out in the sun. It's like generally being that you are a person who thinks, feels, and also responds. So very often, if you're responding to something from the outside of you, just because you've picked it up and incorporated it into your system, there are ways to be able to clear that. There are ways to be able to, but the first part is to be able to acknowledge it and isolate it. If you feel that you're just feeling crummy, shower, clean off the aura is often does it. If it's a little deeper because it's hit one of your own belief systems that's in your subconscious, then you part of it is watching your habits, how you think, how you respond, how you react. We've talked a little bit about how when we're my sad mad formula, because we feel helpless in situations, we'll either be sad or we'll be mad. Sometimes it's easier to be depressed. Sometimes it's easier to be angry. And the key is to be able to handle that, understand that, and not fall into a continual habit of doing that. Our habits are, you might say, are obstacles because they usually have come with us or we've recreated them from before. I'm beginning to realize that very often we have done things in other times and we keep doing them and doing them and doing them in this life. And it's like changing everything. So just remember, when you have a feeling that comes up, check, is this mine or is this somebody else's? And if it's somebody else's, kind of just package it up together. And there's different ways you can let it release it. But I'm always big with putting things in a container, putting a drop of love with them, and then sending them off to the sun with a instruction to be converted to clear, light, loving energy. And I think that's that's where we're at today. I just want to remind everybody that next Monday I'll be on my holidays. In fact, it's a driving day. I won't be doing any shows next week because I'm on the road driving a lot with my friend. And so I just know that I'll think of you and I'll miss this, but it's very difficult to do a show when you're on the road driving, which is what we'll be doing. And again, I'm hoping more than likely we'll be back home for next Sunday for a Sunday thought. And I'll probably have lots to say because we will have been driving for several days. So I wish you well, enjoy. And yeah, I'll see you maybe next Sunday. Let's hope if I'm home safe and sound, which I will plan on being. Whoops, just a little bug went by. Though I plan to be, so that's good. Fine, I'm looking forward to it. So you enjoy this coming week, and you'll see me again. Well, what'll be next week? Yes, no, the week after next. That's what it is. I forget. Days are zipping by right now with me, lots of to do. You take care, enjoy, have fun. Remember, you are important, you are loved, and that there is no judgment, just love. And so it is. Bye now.